On August 4, there is a new moon in Leo. Pluto is at 0 degrees of Aquarius. Venus is at 29 Leo, making an inconjunct to Neptune at 29 Pisces. This all means that something has got to end. It's just not what you think it is. What does that mean for you? That's what we're going to talk about. Hi everyone, I'm Donna Stellhorn, your practical astrologer, and today we are talking about the new moon. It's on August 4, it's at 12 degrees of Leo. We're going to do a short overview and then we're going to go sign by sign. So there is 30 degrees in each sign and there are 12 signs, so that equals 360 degrees, which is a circle, and that's the circle that surrounds us. And so the sky is divided up into these different sections, which we call signs. Now, the most critical time is that boundary between the signs where a planet leaves one sign and goes into another. Now, even though there are 30 degrees in each sign, we actually number them from 0 to 29. So the 0 degree is the first degree and 29th is the last degree, and these are both considered critical degrees. So when a planet is at 29 degrees, it feels like something is coming to an end. And this is kind of like if you're leaving the house, going on a trip, you're thinking, do I have everything? Is the stove off? Like tickets, money, passport, all of these sort of things are going through your mind. It feels quite intense. Now, some of the fast-moving planets, such as Mercury and Venus and Mars, we experience this 29 degree fairly often. So Mercury and Venus about once a month, and Mars maybe every 2 months, depending on whether it's going retrograde. On the other hand, Neptune, which is at 29 degrees, that's rare because Neptune is such a slow-moving planet. So the last time it was at 29 degrees was in 2011. So the 29th degree can make you feel like you're doing everyday things, but you're at the Olympics. Like you have to take this heavy ball and throw it as far as possible. And if you don't win the prize, then everything that you've done up until this point were just a total waste. And, so it has that sort of intensity. And so Venus is at 29 degrees of Leo for this chart, and so that feels like you really, really need to do what you want. Like if you don't do it now, if you don't watch this movie, if you don't buy this item, it's going to be lost. You have to do it now. And the Neptune at 29 Pisces is this overarching feeling of, what do I need to let go of? What is never going to be something that is going to work? What can I let the universe handle? What is the thing that is just totally out of my control, and how do I release it? Now, there's also the other critical degree, and that's 0 degrees. And 0 degrees is the first, the beginning. And so it's kind of like getting off the airplane in a foreign country and you know nothing. You don't even know which direction to go to find the luggage or the taxi. The signs on the restrooms are confusing. People are moving and speaking different languages. And so it has this feeling of everything's brand new. And so we cling to what is familiar. So with this combination of critical degrees, we are thinking, oh my goodness, I need to do what I want. That's so important right now. And the world is changing so much around that, where do I feel safe? Where do I feel secure? Where do I feel confident? And so all of this energy is moving all around us for this new moon. So when we look at Venus at 29 Leo, making an inconjunct to Neptune at 29 Pisces, the one thing that we're going to gravitate towards are escapes. And that's the thing we need to let go of. We need to be present in our lives now, but our tendency, our desire, our almost compulsion will be, let's find an escape. Let's get lost in something that distracts us from all of the things that are ending and beginning. So the energy of this new moon basically asks us two questions. One is, what do you want? And the second is, what are you going to do about it? And the first question, what do you want, is represented by Venus and Neptune. And so that can be having a vision of what it is that you want, or, as I said before, looking for the escape route. And that second question, what are you going to do about it? That's the Pluto. That's the Pluto at 0 degrees of Aquarius that says there are all these opportunities, there are all these new things you can do. What are you going to choose? We are all living through some really intense times. But what I do know is if your soul has chosen to be here on this planet at this time, you are extraordinary and that you can handle these intense times. And so it's very important for you to recognize that when you are doing the things you know you should be doing, the universe will step up to help you. Now in this video, we are doing tropical Western astrology. It's a good idea to listen to your rising sign. It will give you the most accurate information about the 2 weeks ahead. If you don't know your rising sign, I can send you a copy of your chart. There's a link in the description. I want to thank all of you who have subscribed, and if you have not subscribed, just take a moment and hit that subscribe button. It really helps get this video out there. It shows that you like the content, and if you have ideas of content you want me to make, put that information in the comments and I will check it out. All right, let's go sign by sign. Okay, Aries, this new moon is in your area of children, creativity, and risk-taking. And so, and when we talk about risks, we're talking about stepping outside of your comfort zone. Maybe that's starting a business or, doing a creative project or standing on stage or asking someone on a date. And so this is the time to consider taking a risk. Now, this is also your area of children. And so this may be that you are spending a lot of extra time with your kids for some reason, or that your kids' behaviors are a mirror of what's going on with you. And as you are asking them to stop doing something, that maybe that's the thing that you need to stop doing. This is also about creativity, and so looking at your creative projects, deciding maybe to pick up a project that is unfinished and getting it done, or maybe looking at a project that you haven't finished in a really long time and saying, I got everything I needed out of that project, I don't need to work on this anymore, and then, having it move on, donating it, letting it go, or giving it to someone who does want to finish it. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, this new moon is in your area of romance, so that already bodes well. Plus, the sun's making a sextile to Mars, so this is really an excellent time to get out there into the world to meet someone new. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, there's no aspect going on between Venus and Mars. And so it may be that the kids are taking up so much of your time that you're not interacting a lot with your partner, or that they are traveling or you're traveling. It looks like you are so busy just taking care of everyday things that you're not interacting as much as usual. That is not necessarily a bad thing for the relationship. In a long-term relationship, you come together and then you can drift apart. And even, even if that just happens over the course of a month, that's pretty normal. So that's kind of what we're seeing here is you seem to be focused on other things. Now, when it comes to your money, you pull money from that Venus, which is at a critical degree, making that inconjunct to Neptune. And so the energy here says that it is time to stop escaping from what you know you need to do from when it comes to making money, which could be going through your finances, working on your small business, or working on your resume. There are things that you know you need to get done. And when you get those done, then the opportunities do appear. Now, when it comes to your investments or money from your business, Venus is making an out-of-sign inconjunct with Pluto, which indicates that you can make more money over this next 2 weeks doing the parts of the business that you don't necessarily like or that you find difficult. And so if you lean in, and that might mean that you have to do some tutorials to help you guide you through updating your website, or to help you learn more about sales or something like that, that's the thing to be working on. As you lean into that hard stuff, that's where you make more money. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be like a paycheck, Venus is making a square to Uranus. Uranus is in a money house. Venus is right now at that critical degree. So this is the opportune time, if you have not started that conversation with your boss, to sit down with them and say, what can I do to warrant a raise? Or this is how much money I want. I have offers somewhere else. So to push this to say, let's at least schedule the meeting, because this is very strong energy for making more money through your career over the next 2 weeks. Okay, Taurus, this new moon is lighting up your area right at the base of your chart of home and family. So your thoughts about where you live and is this the right place to live, or if you want a house someday, or if you want to buy land now, all of these things may be on your mind. This is also about interactions with family, and so family members may call you, you may be getting together with them. You may talk to a family member you haven't talked to in a long time. So all of this energy is happening. This is also about the foundation of your life. And that is, the foundation of what we stand on, that has to be sturdy and strong. And so that is having an emergency fund, having the necessary things in the kitchen so you can make dinner if you can't go out. It's having that group of friends, people that you can count on, who can count on you. So those sort of things, that's the emphasis for this 2-week period. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Mercury is making an out-of-sign conjunction with Venus. That is a good opportunity to meet someone who's a little bit different than you normally go out with. So they're not necessarily your type in some way. You might be surprised, or your friends might be surprised, but you could find someone with whom you have a lot of good connections, but there's just something that is different or unexpected about them. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Venus is making an out-of-sign inconjunct with Pluto. There may be something that you and your partner need to sit down and discuss, and you're coming at it from extremely different viewpoints. And so the first thing that would be very important, especially if you're having a disagreement, is to try to understand the other person's position, because it may be that the words you're using, you're not defining the same way, or you're basing this on past history that was not a shared history. There's something here that's going to take extra work to work out. Because it's making an aspect, you can work it out, but the out of sign, energy plus that it's an inconjunct does mean that you are starting from a place where you're not understanding each other, even if you think you are. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from Mercury in your area of creativity and risk-taking. And so there is really this idea of kind of marrying that Mercury in Virgo, incremental, detail-oriented energy with taking that step outside of your comfort zone. And sometimes we get so busy we don't recognize the resistance that we have to just going up face to face with someone and asking for the sale, or putting your artwork out into the world, or, standing on stage to play your music. So this is a time where you want to take those steps, but with Mercury here, now take the smallest step. Take the baby steps. And that might mean, like if you want to go do comedy somewhere, go drive to the comedy open mic night. Just park in the parking lot and then leave. And the next time, then you go up to the guy and you say, so how do you get on the roster? And then leave. Take the smallest steps you can do, because those incrementally will build into something real. Now, when it comes to money from business or investments, even though Mercury is not making an aspect with Jupiter, Jupiter is in Gemini, and it will be for the rest of this year and some of next year. And so it's always talking to Mercury, which means you always have money opportunities for this period of time. That's fantastic. And that means doing the research, taking those small steps, figuring out what you can do today to move that needle forward. So you do have some really good money making opportunities over this next 2 weeks and for many months. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be like a paycheck, Mercury is making an out of sign inconjunct with Neptune. That's not the easiest of aspects, but it is an aspect. So be ready in case someone asks you, would you be interested in this new position? So have something in mind. It may be difficult this time to approach your boss, but because there's an aspect, your boss may approach you. But with something that doesn't necessarily feel like it's going to lead to a raise, and you're going to have to move the conversation in that direction. So be prepared if somebody asks you, where do you see yourself in this company? What are you looking for? Or are you willing to take on these added responsibilities? And then you can say, yes, but here's the caveat. Okay, Gemini, this new moon is in your house of communication, which is already your wheelhouse. It's about meeting new people, going out into the community, talking to your neighbors, maybe doing a little bit of travel. So all of these things you do really well already. So it's just kind of everything you do times 2. And so if you had been, for some reason, holding back, not meeting as many people, this is a time over this next 2 weeks that you're going to be doing more connecting with others. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Mercury is making an out-of-sign conjunction with Venus. And that means that you absolutely could meet someone, but perhaps the location is a place that you didn't expect to meet someone, or that the person themselves is a little bit different than you were expecting. They're not necessarily your type, and yet you may find them so interesting and intriguing that you say yes to the date. So, or maybe if you are looking around, start talking to people who you don't normally talk to and see if you don't make a connection, because you could. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, even though Mercury is not making an aspect with Jupiter, Jupiter is in Gemini, which is ruled by Mercury. And so while Jupiter is in Gemini, which is going to be, we still have most of a year left, you have an opportunity to work out something with your partner. You have an opportunity to find a shared language, shared definitions, and find a compromise or a meeting point between you. And so it's really important that you have the conversations because you want to use this positive energy. Now, when it comes to your money, you pull money from the moon, which of course is the new moon in your house of communication. So it says do a lot of communication. This new moon is going to make a sextile to Jupiter and then an inconjunct to Saturn, which is this opportunity to grow, and then you hit a wall. And the reason that you hit the wall is so that you can stop and consolidate the energy. So what can happen in this case is that you start something and right out of the gate, you're making some money and everything's good. And then you hit the wall of, oh, now I have to do this, or this part is hard, or this part, needs a lot more work. So when you hit that wall, that's not a sign that you're not supposed to be doing it. It's a sign to consolidate the energy and figure out how to build a structure around what you're doing. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, the moon, as I said, is making that inconjunct to Saturn. And so, but I think for this specifically, this is a matter of time and time management. And it is that you look extremely busy and you may really want to work on your side business or work on your investments, but you're going to have to carve out the time to make it happen because you're pulled in lots of directions. You might have deadlines coming up. It's just difficult right now. And if you can pull it off, you can make more money. But if you can't, this aspect will line up better in the future. Now, when it comes to money from your career, so that would be like a paycheck, it's an entirely different story. The moon's making a lovely sextile to Mars. That is a great opportunity for you to sit down with your supervisor and hash out something that makes you both happy. So now a sextile means you have to take the action, you have to initiate this, but when you do, you can get really positive results. So this is something to consider over this next 2 weeks. Okay, Cancer, this new moon is lighting up your area of money, which means there are financial opportunities for you over this next 2 weeks. And this may be around receiving some money, but also this could be starting a business or looking at an existing business and making some changes so that it becomes more profitable. Now, in this time, over this next 2 weeks, shift your mindset to look for those opportunities, and then you will start to see how many are available. Now, of course, there are millions of ways to make money these days. There's very few ways to make easy money, and so focus on doing things that you enjoy, focus on doing things that you like to do that help others and that make you money, and that way you can be extremely successful. But right now, there are opportunities coming at you from different directions, and so you want to keep your eyes open so that you can grab hold of these when they show up. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, even though the moon's not making an aspect with Pluto, it is making a nice sextile to Mars. Unfortunately, Mars is kind of in the crowd. It's a little bit, like needle in the haystack, which is probably something you've been feeling. And so the first thing that you need to do is put yourself into the haystack. And so this is meeting someone in a crowd, meeting someone in a situation where you're meeting a lot of people. That would be like going to a concert, a convention, a conference, to be in some large social gathering. That's where you could meet someone. You could also meet someone doing something spiritual during this time. So, like a meditation retreat, a yoga retreat, something like that. And then when it comes to existing love relationships, the moon's making an inconjunct with Saturn. So the two of you may be trying to work on something together, but you're coming at it at very different approaches, and those approaches may be incompatible. This is kind of like, one of you wants to have dinner and one of you wants to play tennis. You cannot do those things at the same time. So there has to be some sort of compromise between the two of you, maybe about priorities or how you do something, and that's going to help you work out some issues in this relationship. Now, when it comes to your money, you pull money from the sun, which is sitting in your house of money, so that can't be better. That is fantastic. The only caveat I would say is Venus, of course, is at a critical degree and still in that house of money. And so what happens is there may be quite the interest in spending money right now, and you may feel like, I have to do it now because it's a good price, or I have to do it now because if I don't have this, then I'm uncomfortable. So if there's an urgency about spending money, and honestly, if you wait outside this 2-week period, that urgency is going to go away and you may find you didn't need the item. Or if you're going to buy it, make sure it's returnable, because it may be something you don't need or don't want after this 2-week period. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, even though the sun is not making an aspect with Uranus, it's making an inconjunct with Saturn. And this indicates that there's something difficult that you have been avoiding, that if you would do it, you would make more money. And maybe this is around sales or updating your website or honing your message or changing something about how you're presenting what you're doing. And it's uncomfortable. It's something you don't necessarily want to do. But if you will look at that, you do have an opportunity to make a change that could not only affect this 2 weeks, but the weeks in the future. And then when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be a paycheck, even though the sun's not making an aspect with Venus, they are in the same sign. So you do still have some time, very, very little, just this 2-week period, to sit down with your boss and say, let's start the conversation. So maybe just set the meeting, even if the meeting is outside the 2-week period. Now, I don't want to give you the impression that this is not going to line up again this year. It absolutely will. You will have more opportunities. But if this is something that is very important to you now, and, Venus is at a critical degree, so it could be. So then you want to take a step forward. Just make it an incremental step. You don't have to push very hard. Just say, let's set up a meeting. Okay, Leo, this is your new moon, which means that you are at the beginning of your lunar year. So now you're in a seed planting time. That means that over this next month, actual 4 weeks, the more new things you do, the bigger your harvest will be, and that will be in about 6 months. And so you really want to try new things, meet new people, go a new route to the grocery store, take a new route to work, meet some people at a coffee shop, go to a different coffee shop, try a new toothpaste. Like anything new you can do can open up your world to new opportunities. Now, this is also a new moon that is about your physical expression out in the world. And so that may mean that you are changing your wardrobe or getting a new tattoo or changing your hairstyle or doing something so how you present yourself in a physical form is new and fresh. And so that's the energy that you're doing. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, the sun's making a lovely sextile to Jupiter. And so you have an opportunity to meet someone new for a love relationship. There is some connections here to friendships and groups and organizations. So consider going to big meetings or local groups. Also, though, ask your friends if they know someone you could meet, or maybe a friend turns into a love relationship. So you have good energy for this over the next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, the sun's not making an aspect with Uranus, but it is making an inconjunct with Saturn. And so there is some point of contention that the two of you are trying to work out, but the problem is you're coming from it with just such different perspectives that there's nothing in common. And that's the first thing you have to do is you either have to adjust to occupy the land that they're on so that you can say, oh, this is what you're seeing, this is what you're experiencing, or try to get them to do that with you, or you're going to have to find something in common, even though it feels like there's nothing happening in common. And so another sign was doing this energy, and the example I gave is you want to have dinner, your partner wants to play tennis. You cannot do these things at the same time. You're going to have to find some way to compromise to work this out, and that's the energy you're doing over the next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from Mercury, which is in your house of money, and it's in its own sign, which just feels so strong. And so this is about planning. This is about getting things down in writing. This is about, looking at the past and really knowing what your statements say and how much interest you're paying, what is bringing you money in your business, what's kind of a lost leader or not a leader at all. Like looking at the details of what's making you money, where the money is going, what your accounts are doing. That's the energy to work on. And as you put your attention on your money expands. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, Mercury is making an out of sign inconjunct with Neptune. Yes, I had to do math, sorry. But yes, an out of sign inconjunct with Neptune, which means that to make more money, you have to do some of the things you've been putting off. Look at the things you've been procrastinating on. They're probably something that's technical that maybe you don't feel confident about doing and you're going to have to get some help, or you just don't want to do it for some reason. And those are the things that would directly lead to making more money. So find a way, if you can't do it yourself, to delegate it or automate it, or to find a way to eliminate it if it's something that's really bothering you, to see that, find a way where you don't have to do it because, you've changed the business or something like that. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be like a paycheck, you have some really good energy here because Mercury is moving to make a sextile. Mercury. There goes my math again. Mercury is moving to make a square with Mars and Jupiter in that house. And so there is a lot of energy happening. Now, yes, I know squares can be a little bit contentious, but if you come to your boss with a good argument, you could win them over. In a square energy, there is a battle, but there is a winner. And so to make yourself the winner, just go in prepared. But over this next 2 weeks, you could approach your boss, lay out the reasons that you deserve a raise, and walk away with more money. Okay, Virgo, this new moon is in your area of intuition and spiritual connection. And, everyone is intuitive, but it does take a little bit of practice. And so as you are opening yourself up to it this month, you may find that you pick up on much more than you have in the past. And you can direct this. I mean, there is intuition where you know what someone else is thinking, but there is also things like clairvoyance, where you know what the future is, or looking at past lives, you know where you came from. So there's all of these different spiritual topics that may be of a lot of interest to you right now. And this is a time where you might take a class or find a tutor or just work on the practice of what it is that you do. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Mercury is not making an aspect with Saturn. And because the new moon is actually in your spiritual house, it's a little bit hidden. You are a little bit hidden. And so this may be the time where you want to do spiritual practices to get yourself ready for love relationship. So that would be letting go of the past, looking at what you want in a love relationship and how you can love yourself and connect with others in this loving, peaceful manner. So all of these things, that's what's happening over this next 2 weeks. This energy is going to line up for you in the future, and then you'll have lots of opportunities in the world. But right now, this is more that you are hidden. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Mercury is making an out-of-sign inconjunct with Neptune. So there is an energy right now that is feeling like the two of you think that you know what each other is saying. You think you know what the problem is or what is upsetting your partner, but that's not it. And it's like you have a miscommunication, and yet you think you are communicating because by sign, these two planets look like they're in opposition. And so this is the kind of thing that out of sign aspects can do. It can make it feel like, in some cases, that it's easier than it actually is, or that you feel like it's obvious, but it's really not. And so this is a really good time to have very open communications with your partner, because there is a miscommunication happening. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from Venus, which is at a critical degree, and so it feels like you have to make something happen right now, and it's making that inconjunct to Neptune, which is also the critical degree. It makes an inconjunct to Pluto, which is out of sign. So there is all of this pressure on you right now. And the thing to do when there is so much pressure is to stop and consider what's really important. Are you feeling pressure because other people are seemingly being successful or seemingly doing a lot of things you're not? Or is it that you just need to reorder your priorities, or you have to create some time in your schedule to do the things that you really want to do? So, but the number one thing first is to stop and consider, and do it with a sense of self-love and self-acceptance, rather than berating yourself or saying that you're not doing enough. Consider that you are, but maybe things just need to be in a different order, or some sort of adjustments need to happen. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, Venus is not making an aspect with Mars. So right now, this is more about working on the business rather than just going for the profits. And again, because in general, you're doing this money energy of making adjustments. Adjustments take a little bit of time. This energy is going to line up in the future. So right now, you're making about the same as usual in these areas. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be like a paycheck, it's a little bit better. It's still not super good because you are hidden, because there's so much Leo energy. So this is the month before your birthday. And so this is more of a time of reflection and planning. But the moon and Venus are in the same sign, so there is an opportunity to have a meeting of the minds, but that is if you can get the meeting. That's more likely. What would happen is, somebody's on vacation, or, they're just not available. And so you may try to get the meeting, but it's probably outside this 2-week period, which is going to be better because at that point, at least Venus will be in your own sign. Okay, Libra, this new moon is lighting up your area of friendships, acquaintances. This is the community, or getting involved in networking or hobby groups, or doing charitable activities, doing something for the community in general. This is also about technology and hopes and wishes for the future. So all of these things are coming together to say it's probably a good idea to get out of the house and meet some new people, to lean into some technology that you want to be learning. But also, this is a good time to, it's kind of a midpoint of the year, to look over your goals and see how things are going. Are there goals that you made at the beginning of the year that you've forgotten about? Is it necessary to reprioritize things now so that you can have more time spent on your real goals? So that's the focus for this 2-week period. Now, when it comes to love relationships, you have some really strong energy. You have all of this new moon energy in that area of friendships, plus Venus is making a square to Uranus, which is that sudden, unexpected meeting of someone maybe from your past, or maybe a friend says that they want a romantic relationship, or somebody you didn't expect, someone, just out of the blue comes into your life. This is what can happen. So you definitely want to put yourself out there if you are looking for love. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, it is a bit of a different story because there's no aspect going on between Venus and Mars. So the two of you seem to be wrapped up in your own thing and not really connecting as much. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's a problem. If there's something that you're feeling that you really need to work out, it's probably best to work it out outside this 2-week period. But for the two of you in general, this happens a great deal of the time, where when you're in a strong relationship that you just have things to do and you're not necessarily working on the relationship, but just working on life in general. And that's kind of what's happening this 2-week period. Now, when it comes to your money, you pull money from Pluto, which is at 0 degrees. It's going to go back into Capricorn for a few months, starting in September. And we're going to talk a lot about that when we get there. And then you also pull money from Mars, which is in your house of contracts and agreements. And so this may be a time where you are signing a contract with someone, or getting a new supplier, or maybe getting some education, or engaging a coach, or making a contract with yourself, making an agreement that you are going to stick to get something done when it comes to money and finance. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, Venus is making an out of sign inconjunct with Pluto, and they're both at a critical degree, which means that there's something very important you need to do for your business and you've been putting it off. This is something that maybe your portfolio needs to be rebalanced, or that you need to look at your the credit situation with your business or your website, or there's something really important that you have to look at. And when you do, you're going to feel better. You're going to be able to solve it. But it's something that, it may feel from the outside looking in that it's something difficult and that you don't want to do it. But if you do it, things will get better. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, you have really good energy because the new moon is there. So that is a new opportunity to make more money in your business, either from your existing job or a new job. And even though the sun's not making an aspect with Pluto, it is making a really nice sextile to Mars. So this is something you're initiating. You go knock on the door of your supervisor and bring this idea up, bring them the reasons that you should get a raise, or if you are interviewing for a new job, this is a great time to push in this area. So you have really strong ability to secure more money from your job over this next 2 weeks. Okay, Scorpio, This new moon's right at the top of your chart, which makes you very noticeable over this next 2 weeks, and that can really help boost social media numbers, get your resume to rise to the top of the pile, and so that you're seen in general. And so there may be something going on with you over this next 2 weeks that puts you in the spotlight. This is also in your house of career, and so you may be considering whether this is the right job for you, or how you move up in your career, or how you make your side business your main business. And so there's a lot going on around how you want to express yourself in the world. This may also be a time where you are thinking about what your passion is, or what your mission is, or what your purpose is. And a lot of this is around what you do well. As you figure out what it is that you like to do and you do it more, it can become your passion, but also things that you naturally do well could become your passion and could be the reason that you're here. And so there may be some enlightenment during this 2-week period because this area is lit up for you, that someone tells you, oh, like you're such an amazing speaker, or you're so good at the guitar. And that is your signal to lean into that, to give it the practice and energy and attention that it needs so that you can become really good at it. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Neptune is making an out of sign sextile to Pluto. I know I sound like a broken record, but this is such an extraordinary time for you because the new moon's right at the top of your chart, and new moon says meeting someone new, and you're super noticeable right now. So this is the time to get out there and meet new people, be in crowds, connect with groups, have somebody fix you up, go see a matchmaker, like do the steps during this 2 weeks to start that process. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Venus is making an out of sign inconjunct with Pluto. This means the two of you may have a point of contention, but you are coming at it from such different points of view that there's almost nothing in common. And or that you're trying to hash something out, but the timing just seems to be off. And so you can find it really difficult to work something out during this time. Now, because it's making an aspect, and both of these planets are at critical degrees, you may feel just compelled to work it out. And so the best thing to do is to try to stand in their shoes, try to get a definition of how they are defining the different words that they're using, because those two factors are going to really help you to understand them. Because as I said, you're coming from very different points of view. And so to get this to mesh, you're going to have to find something where you're stepping over into the other person's territory to see what their life is like from that vantage point. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from Jupiter, which is in a money house, and this just means the money's there. Go get the money. That is that there are obvious things that you can do, and they're not obvious maybe to the world, but they're obvious to you. And right now, of course, we're doing all of this escape sort of energy. So this means just stop and look and say, if this was a CEO, what would they be doing? If this was a great salesperson, what would they be doing? So ask yourself those types of questions, and that will bring you back to the present, to what to focus on. But the money is right there. It's there for the taking. So yeah, you can grab it. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, even though Mercury's not making an aspect with Jupiter, Jupiter is in the sign of Gemini, which is ruled by Mercury. So these two are talking, and that means that the money can come into your hands. So that means that there are more chances of making a profit, and a bigger profit than usual over this next 2 weeks in these areas. So you definitely want to work this, take the time to make it a priority, because this is such a good time for you making money. And then when it comes to money derived from career, so that's like a paycheck, now this is really lined up nicely because Jupiter's in a money house, Mercury's in a money house, Jupiter is talking to that Mercury in a hidden aspect. And so there is such good energy here for talking to your supervisor or going out and getting a new job. You're highly noticeable, so you may have just had a big win of something where, you were the top salesperson, or you delivered the project on time, or you saved the boss from something. And so this is a great time to have that conversation. Okay, Sagittarius, this new moon is lighting up your area of information and school and, learning things, but also about experiences. And that could be travel or just having the experience, being in the place instead of reading about it, instead of watching it in a video, actually being there. And so there may be this really intense desire to go have experiences at this time. And so maybe you're putting them in the schedule. Maybe you are talking to friends and saying, let's go do this, or maybe you're just jumping in the car and going off and doing this. So, but that's really the draw. Now, if you're in school, of course, this is the middle of summer, so this would be kind of like a summer school or an accelerated program, or maybe you're on a quarterly cycle, but there are areas here, if you're in school, where you could really shine. And so that means being the top of your class or getting a really great grade. If you have some sort of standardized test that you need to take, you could do very well. So that's the energy that you're doing at this time. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, the energy is really, really good. This is your time. Mars is making a conjunction to Jupiter. They're in your house of relationship. This is such a good time to meet someone new. You could find someone with whom you connect with physically, emotionally, intellectually, spiritually. You just need to get out there and meet as many people as you can over this next 2 weeks, because unless you have somebody in mind, and if you have somebody in mind and they're not new, that's an existing relationship. So, but this is really looking at how many new people you can meet, make a lot of connections. You could make an extraordinary connection during this 2-week period. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, even though Mercury is not making an aspect with Jupiter, Jupiter is in the sign of Gemini. So there is, and that's ruled by Mercury. And so there is opportunities to work things out, to have the conversations and really bond, really get closer. Now, this is more than this 2-week period. It's all the time that Jupiter is in Gemini, which is going to be the rest of this year and a few months into next year. So this is something, though, that you don't really want to pass up. Every time we talk about this, think, what can we discuss? What can me and my partner work out, hash out? What words can we define with each other so that when there is a disagreement, we're at least talking about the same things? So there's so much good energy here that you don't want to miss it. Now, when it comes to your money, you pull money from Saturn, which is at the base of your chart, which is really in that area of foundations as well as endings. And so this may be you looking at, what do I need to build as a foundation for my money-making abilities? And this could be, learning more about your investments, learning more skills when it comes to sales or technology. And this is also taking a look at your business or any money-making activity and asking yourself, is it worth the time? Is it worth the energy? If you have multiple products, what are the products that need to be retired? What are the things that need to be discounted so that you can, clean off the shelves? What are the things that you're offering that are just not selling, that are taking up a lot of time and energy that you need to let go of? And this includes which of your clients are taking up a lot of your time and energy that need to be moved to someone else who can service them better so that you have more time and energy and freedom to see your more ideal client. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, the moon's making an inconjunct with Saturn. That means that the money is there, but there are some things that you need to do to get it. And most of these things it doesn't feel like you want to do. There is some sort of extra effort that you have to put in right now. And I know that kind of feels redundant. It may feel always like there's a lot of effort that you have to do when it comes to money. But this is something that if you do that little extra effort, then you are going to get the reward. And that effort could help in the future make things easier. So, but this is something where it's probably something maybe not as obvious, but if you stop and think about it, then it will come to you, oh, you know what, this would make things better. Now, when it comes to money from your career, so that would be like a paycheck, Venus is not making an aspect with Saturn. So therefore, this is not the right time to be asking for a raise. This may be something where you're planting some seeds to have a better relationship with your boss, to have a better connection, learn the name of their kids, their dog, and be get into a position so that when this aspect lines up, which it will in the future, that you'll be ready. But right now, if you are, feeling like you have to ask, just try to put it off, because with no aspect, it makes it difficult to make a good connection here. Okay, Capricorn, this new moon is in one of your money houses. This is the house of resources, investments, business income. And so there are real opportunities for you over this next 2 weeks. And that is when you put yourself in that mindset of looking at everything just for 2 weeks of how could this make me money? Is this costing me money? Putting yourself in that sort of mindset, what happens is then you start to see opportunities that you hadn't seen before. And some of this is a little bit automatic because it is that new moon energy. So someone may come to you with an idea, or an idea that you had maybe dismissed in the past now takes on some sort of new energy. And so you could be looking at it from that standpoint. And then, of course, this will cause some sort of reprioritizing of what you're doing. And that's where, the letting go and the getting rid of the distractions so that you can focus on the thing. And there is so many different ways of making money these days, but none of them are automatic or super easy. There's always some work involved. And so, but as you embrace that and say, okay, this is something I enjoy doing anyway, then you can find your way towards financial stability and opportunity. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Venus is not making an aspect with Saturn. So there is some energy in your area of intimacy. And so if you're looking to meet someone for a very short relationship that's very physical, that can happen. But if you're looking for long term, this is not the 2-week period where you're most likely to meet someone like that. So consider, just focusing on other things, and then this energy will line up in the future. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, the moon's making an inconjunct with Saturn. That energy says that the two of you can work something out, but you need to find some sort of common ground. An inconjunct indicates that you're coming from two different perspectives that are so different that there is no common ground. And so that you have to find it or create it or you have to make some sort of adjustments so that you can, maybe take their role and they take your role, so you see things from each other's point of view. There may be such a desire to work something out during this time, but with this particular tool of the inconjunct, it can be quite difficult. It's going to take some patience. And so you might say to yourselves, okay, we're just going to put this off. We'll talk about this in a couple of weeks. We can't do it now. Or if you do, then be aware that you're both going to have to make some adjustments to find some sort of solution. Now, when it comes to your money, you pull money from the Saturn as well as that Uranus. And Uranus was, all in the news, earlier in July, actually when I'm recording this, because of the conjunction with Mars. So it is quite possible that something has changed significantly in the last week or two that is causing you to go in a new direction when it comes to money. Maybe you had some sort of epiphany, somebody like a supplier changed, you came up with a new idea. But there is something very exciting that can happen in your business now. And now that Mars has moved on and is moving closer to that Jupiter where that energy can expand, this is a really good time to take whatever it is that was shifted or changed and now apply some activity to it for making money. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, even though the sun is not making an aspect with Uranus, it is making an inconjunct with Saturn, which says that there is more money that you can make, but you are going to have to do a few things that you have either been putting off, procrastinating about, or you just don't want to do. And this is the hard part, because I do hear from clients sometimes where they tell me that they found what they love to do, but they only want to do the fun parts. They don't want to do the other parts. And this is kind of like eating the meal but not digesting the food, or like living in the house but never vacuuming. It is something where there's always going to be some tasks that need to happen. That's just part of maintaining something. And so this is a time where if you could focus on those types of tasks, the things that you maybe have put off, or the things you don't like to do, that's where the profits are now. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be like a paycheck, Saturn's making a semi-square with Pluto. That is a pretty challenging aspect. And so, but because, well, you do get aspects, every couple of months you can get a pretty strong aspect that could make things easier. And so if you want to wait a little while, you will get some more aspects this year. But this particular one is difficult. It means that if you go for the raise now, you are probably going to meet with some resistance. There's going to be a lot of friction happening to make it happen. So even if your boss says yes, they're going to say, well, it's quite a process to get this paperwork done or something. So this is up to you. If you're already in this process, you may want to just give it another shove and see how much resistance you get. But if this is something that you're bringing up now, you may want to wait a few weeks when this energy will line up better. Okay, Aquarius, this new moon is lighting up your area of relationships, collaborations, partnerships, friendships, connections. This is the time to go out and meet a lot of people. Even if you just shake their hand, even if you just send a little email that says hi, or a direct message that says, I'm noticing what you're doing and it's amazing, like something to break the ice here, then that relationship has a possibility of becoming a relationship of some type in your life. So this is a time to, get out of the house and branch out and be seen. So, and, with these planets at critical degrees, you probably feel it as well. So I probably didn't even have to tell you. And so you may be just trying to find the time in your schedule to go do this, but let me recommend it. This is the time to do it. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, even though Mercury's not making an aspect with Uranus, this is such good energy with the new moon there, with Mars and Jupiter in your house of romance. Like, there's so many possibilities. It's probably that you don't need so much to look, but just be out in the world. And so instead of trying to get a first date with someone, just go out, go to the party, go to the meetup group, go meet people and see what happens. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, the sun's not making an aspect with Uranus. However, it is making an inconjunct with Saturn. So there's kind of a double thing here happening, which is, I think, because you're doing the new moon there, that the two of you are coming together to do something that surprises all your friends and family. And so it's possible that you have a big announcement that you're going to make, that there's going to be a new addition in the family, or that you're moving, or you're changing jobs, or something like that. But it feels like the two of you are a united front, but you are surprising or maybe even shocking some of your relatives. Now, when it comes to your money, you pull money from Jupiter, which is very busy in your house of creativity and risk-taking, but also that Neptune, which is doing the inconjunct to Venus. And so when Neptune is at 29, and by the way, it is retrograde, so it's going to go to 28, and some of the pressure will be off you. But right now, it is at 29 and you're going to feel it for these 2 weeks. The thing to be looking at is what's in your control, what is out of your control. What can you do, and what's so to put this in very practical terms, this is like if you're making content, make great content that you're proud of, but don't worry so much about the numbers, because the numbers are out of your control. But making the great content you can do. So, and it's the same thing of, when you go for the job interview or, when you're trying to sell something, just make it the best pitch you can. You can't control the outcome of it. So let go of that part. And as you do such a good job, as you focus on that, then you're going to see that you get all of the things that you're looking for. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, Mercury is making an out-of-sign inconjunct with Neptune. This is a kind of a tricky aspect because it feels like it's in harmony, but it's actually an inconjunct. And so what happens is that you could feel like you're doing all of the right things when you're missing some of the stuff that you don't want to do, and you don't realize you're procrastinating about it because you're so busy doing the other stuff. And so to give a practical example, that would be the person who spends a very long time designing their logo rather than making sales calls. So because nobody wants to make sales calls, so it makes sense. But because they're so focused on doing the logo, they don't realize that they're ignoring the thing that would make the difference. So if you do the thing that you don't want to do, once you figure out what that is, you can make more money over the next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be like a paycheck, even though Jupiter's not making an aspect with Neptune, Neptune is in Pisces, which is co-ruled by Jupiter. So you have a hidden connection. And when you have a hidden connection, you can work the energy. So therefore, there is an opportunity. Now, the strongest opportunity that I'm seeing here for you is to see if you can become more friendly with your boss, because you have such good relationship energy. So connect with them as a friend, and then they would go to bat for you for the raise when the time comes. So I think that would be a good way to use this energy. So because it will take a while for you to get a really solid aspect, you may have to use this hidden connection. So, but you have such good relationship energy, as I said, so look at ways you can collaborate more with your boss or be a friend to your boss, and then they will push for the raise for you. Okay, Pisces, this new moon is lighting up your area of habits and routines, and I know that sounds really boring, but actually the things that you do every day are the strongest lever that you have to make changes in your life. Lever. Is it lever or lever? I can't remember. So, but it's the fulcrum that could push everything in the direction you want it to go. And so, long ago I read this book called Mini Habits, which is, this guy wrote a book about doing 1 push-up a day. And because sometimes he would get down to do the 1 push-up and he would do 5 push-ups. And sometimes he would feel really energetic and he'd do 30 push-ups. And by the end of the year, he was so amazed at how much his physical body had changed. And he said, I've only done 1 push-up a day. So it's the cumulative process. It's the compound interest you get when you do the good things, the good habits, every single day. And so that's the energy you're doing right now, is to install those habits and to let go of the habits that aren't working for you. That would be the 29s. And you could make such a difference by the little things you start over this next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, the moon's making a sesquiquadrate to Neptune. That is one of those aspects where if you meet someone for a love relationship, there's something that is an obstacle. Like, so it's like meeting somebody, but you work with them and they have a no fraternization policy, or you meet someone and they're perfect, but they live on another continent. Like, there's some sort of obstacle that happens that you'll have to work out to make this relationship work. That doesn't mean it's going to be less fun. It just means that there'll be a little bit more work to make this happen. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Mercury is making an out of sign inconjunct with Neptune. There's a tricky part of this, though, because by sign, they look like they're more in harmony. They look like they're doing an opposition, but they're actually doing an inconjunct, which means that the two of you may come together thinking you're on the same page, just looking for that common ground in the center, when in actuality, you're talking about entirely different things, or you're focused on very different goals. So you have to have very open communication about this, or else this could be a misunderstanding that feels unsolvable. But it's just because you're talking about two things that are so wildly different, but you don't realize it. It's kind of like what I said to, I think, probably the Virgos who are doing this aspect also, is that you want to go to dinner and they want to play tennis. And so when they're talking about serving, you're thinking serving dinner, they're thinking of serving a ball, like it's that sort of thing. Like, so that's the challenge that you have over this next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from Mars, which is approaching a conjunction with Jupiter. So it does look like you're taking massive action over this next 2 weeks about making money. This is about really getting as much information that you need. This is very much about finding what you need to know, getting some sort of education, creating a foundation as well, like having basic skills. This might mean that you are studying how to craft your message, or how to update your website, or something that's very basic for what you're doing. And so you're establishing that good foundation. And then as that Mars moves on and past that Jupiter, then you'll be able to take action on other things. But right now, it's about learning and gathering knowledge. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, you're making about the same as usual. There's no aspect going on between Mars and Venus. So this is more, as I was saying before, kind of collecting the information. It does show that you might be working on office stuff, maybe hiring people, maybe working out procedures or back office sort of stuff. So you're making about the same as usual. And then when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be like a paycheck, Mars is not making an aspect with Saturn. There's not really a connection going on between the two of them now. This energy is going to line up very soon, probably when we start talking about the full moon. And so that means that you have about 2 weeks to gather the information you want to present to your boss, but don't present it quite yet. So just kind of wait. And because when this energy does line up, it will be much more compelling. Maybe you have something you're turning in, or you're going to get some sort of, pat on the back in the meantime that you could add to your list of reasons. But things will be looking better just outside of this 2 week period. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. If I could pronounce the word subscribing, it would help. So please consider subscribing. I do really enjoy making these videos, but it also helps when people subscribe, because then it makes me feel like you guys enjoy it too. So, and I will see you in the next video.